We have officially made it to the final series of the semester. We've gone through 2 series thus far this semester, the first one being love, and the second one being on truth. Now that leads us to our 3rd series, our final one on freedom. Love led us into truth. Truth now leads us into freedom. And we can't wait to break open this theme with 2 specific nights. The first of these 2 nights is going to be on just simply freedom. What freedom is, how we can find it, and what that means for us as Catholics. The second is going to be specifically on living in freedom. Now that's not just how to live freely, but also how the church helps us to do that in her authority and in her love. Our first night on freedom just looks specifically at how the Lord calls us to love and truth and ultimately to live freely. It starts with the fall in Genesis. It looks at how mortal and venial sins make us less and less free. And how freedom is not just doing what we want to do, but how freedom is doing what we ought. We're going to be looking specifically at how we hear in the Gospel of John that God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. By looking at how the Lord enters into our broken nature and brings redemption from that, we can see that the Lord doesn't restrict us in our life, but that a life of virtue, a life of faith, hope, and love ultimately brings us the greatest freedom. Now with night 1 looking at freedom specifically, night 2 is going to be looking at how to live it. Specifically looking at how the church in her wisdom and authority, the magisterium, doesn't restrict us, but brings us to a greater life of freedom, a greater life of morality and virtue. Now we know that this is countercultural, and our teens see how countercultural this is in a culture that raises up this idea of you can be what you want to be, you can do what you want to do. This idea of living virtuously and finding freedom not through doing what we want, but through doing what we ought. And seeing how the church in her authority guides us to that freedom, we can see the ways that our teens are called to a life of happiness and joy, a life of virtue and morality, and how that not only brings us to greater love and greater truth, but how that brings us to freedom. We're excited to break open Series 3 to finish off this semester, and we can't wait to see how it brings us to greater love God, build relationships, and strengthen disciples.